says, are Qadianis Muslims and how can we give them da'wah? Well, the question just came right on time, because the previous question was talking about the deviant sects. This is a typical example. Qadianis definitely are not Muslims. Let's find out, why aren't they Muslims? Who is the founder of the Qadianism? The Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadian, who was born in India, grew up in the Punjab, and then he began his life in the 19th century, approximately the 1900, as a da'iyah, as a preacher. Then he was adopted by the forces, the military forces of the British occupation, where he formed his own group, and he started calling people onto a different belief that abandoned jihad and resistance against the occupation forces. Now we figure out the origin of this group. And gradually, in order to give himself the power of legislation, he initially claimed to be Al-Mahdi, whom Prophet Muhammad ﷺ predicted that he shall emerge by the end of time in order to revive the deen and lead Muslims, and yet he abandoned jihad. Secondly, he claimed to be the Messiah, Jesus the son of Mary, or he claimed that he was incarnated into him. They also believe in incarnation, that Ibrahim a.s. was reborn 2000 years after his death, and so on, things of this nature. So with regards to belief, their belief is absolutely corrupt. He managed to give a false interpretation of Quran. So he ended up having his own revelation or his own Quran. Furthermore, he claimed, since he believes in incarnation, that he is Prophet Muhammad or a prophet after Muhammad, peace be upon him. And he gave a false interpretation of Khatamun Nabiyyin, and he said that he, as a matter of fact, the seal of the prophethood. He is the last prophet who came after Muhammad, peace be upon him. So this is an entirely different religion. They were loyal to the British occupation. They ordered people to be obedient and compliant to them, and so on. And accordingly, he has his own Quran, his own fabrication, and they believe in incarnation, and so on. These guys, for us, are not Muslims. Al-Hajj al-Akbar for them is to perform Hajj to Qadian, not to Mecca. He also said amongst his false statements that God observes fasting, and he prays, and he sleeps, he takes rest, and he does things like human being, and he talks to him, and so on. So there is no doubt that this sect is one of the deviant sects which Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said they are not Muslims, they don't belong to this ummah. As far as the second part of the question, which is how can we give them da'wah? Like giving da'wah to non-Muslims, because they do not share anything with us in common. It's a different religion, it's a different faith. So we need to invite them first to At-Tawheed, to the oneness of Allah, to understand the word of Quran, basically the message of monotheism and belief, then the message of the prophets, what all the prophets have shared, then finally that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was most definitely the seal of the prophethood. Because any person does not believe in any of these components is not a believer. Yes, it is possible to give them da'wah, and I think I did share with you before a very interesting debate that I had with some of the leaders, which lasted for 8 hours. It's very funny because their statements make no sense. Simply, the audience, who were vast majority their followers, gave up on them afterward in the same meaning, because it's easy to refute their misconceptions, and it's easy to present the truth to them, since they, their leaders, make them assume and believe that they are Muslims, while in reality they are not.